ADC is actually cracked. I did not think I would live to see it. That sounded really depressing for no reason. It's just that I wasn't here last week, right? So I kind of looked at the games, and I heard by talking to everyone who looked at them more intently the fact that it was a hard match to win versus G2, but there were so many positive signs. And I always think that's so hard because it's like transitive properties don't always work, right, Odo? So what did you see today that made you think about those hopeful signs of last week?
We saw a lot more the K Corp we wanted to see, where they're a little bit more patient, taking Ls, because this early game was really rough, because they walked up to third Drake or even fourth Drake later on. Man, their comp, they were getting smashed by this MDK Nico top, the shenanigan that we saw earlier that worked even better for them. But it all led up to this, because if we would have seen the K Corp that we saw in the weeks before, I don't think they could have pulled the win, because they were so patient, and it looked like this cohesive unit that we always wanted to see from them, that we've been building them up for the whole split. And it was a joy to watch. Upset was great. Canna was great, operating with 0 resources this game because she was getting punished by the Nico top. And everyone, it really felt like for the first time we saw from K Corp this split that they are all together and they're all as a unit.
Yeah, it was great to see. I was a bit skeptical given the early game and given that they were like full AD, basically had like 0 AP damage until Kai'Sa gets his third item completed. And then they had like tab-eyes and like health items ready on the tanks, and Nico was really smashing top. So yeah, great turnaround. I think they capitalized on every mistake Mad Lions actually made, and that made them come back to the game.
So again, though, we do see a little bit from Mad Lions, the thing that we've unfortunately seen a few times. I don't think maybe this was as egregious because it wasn't as late into the game, but they do have a habit of having a good game plan, building up a certain advantage, and then not being able to push it through.
Exactly, we saw that, but I don't really think it was more so from MDK side where they fumbled an engage or something. I think it was Vladi having a really great play, because in the mid fight where that led up to the Nasher, they pulled the trigger and they engaged on a fight where Vladi does the typical thing that we see from Tristana, well, mainly from Caps, where he just buffers the engage and everything looks great. And it starts here with this initial engage, because right now K Corp are really struggling to get some sort of control. And right now they're punishing Alvaro very well by chunking him, which is going to lead later on into the dive, because as we speed up now, MDK is going to push up for this mid tower to get another aggressive play on Vladi, because I think they might have seen upset base, and right now they're like, this tower is very low. Let's look for a fight. Alvaro and Elyoya are gaining a lot of space and using their tankiness, but right now this engage fails, and now all of a sudden everyone is overcommitted. Upset is jumping in very well. Closer finds a very good engage on the Zeri, and this is the fight that K Corp needed, because up until this point the game was out of their hands. It was out of their reach. They didn't have a single good play that they could forge, just because MDK was so far ahead. And right now, after this Nasher, after this sequence, the game is just lost for MDK.
Yeah, they got the items on the AD carries now after that, and then the fight started becoming suddenly very free, because the front lane is just not tanky enough to handle the damage.
And the Nico is falling off because she's useless. She's just a lane dominant pick that with time, when everyone gets equal items, she just falls off.
Against AD carries especially. She, can't carry.
So then think about the other game state than the one where you are winning with that pick specifically. The fact that KC turns it around in that mid-fight perks, did you identify that as, of course, there was a little bit of an overstep from MDK as well, or I want to say a misread of the situation, but was it even more KC and Vladi saying, this is the fight we're going to need if we want to come back in this game?
I think it's more of like maybe MDK like being sloppy in the mid game. Maybe since they've thrown so many mid game advantages, you can get like over hasty and like try to go for these plays, or you see someone is out of position, oh he's inting, you know, or like kill him, I'm engaging, you know, and then it turns out bad, and then your comp is just getting outscaled, and then you just actually collapse, and that's maybe what happens with them, and that happens with them a lot. So it could be a mental block at this point already. It could be already like, oh, if we don't get this now, if we don't get this mid turret right now, we're not gonna progress the game, and that's how they feel, right? Even though I don't know why, they have pretty decent scaling as well.
Right now,
like, but yeah, I mean, for sure KC outscales,
Yeah, and let's talk about Upset a little bit as well, guys.
Upset has played phenomenal game. I think from an AD carry perspective, he's done everything right in this game. Like he was playing very graceful from behind when his team was losing. He was up in CSM lane anyways, and then him and Targamas got the bait on the bot lane, which made him get ahead in the game. And after that, I think he just played every team fight really well. He took the most aggressive path possible in teamfight and created a lot of space for his team and didn't overcommit. I think he just played really well, and of course his stats are wonderful here. He loves the stats, so I'm sure he'll be happy to see such nice stats.
Weren't you saying when they could finish but they didn't? You're like, yeah, if I was him, I would go back. I would try to get another pentakill.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at that point, you can't lose. You have like the Cloud Soul, and you have Baron, and you're like, this is your time to get penta. You have Flash and Cleanse.
Yeah,
I'm like,
this is it.
Guys, don't end, please. Get the objectives. We can't end. Get the objectives. But he didn't get the penta, unfortunately. But he had like 2 or 3 kills more. It was nice. Was nice for the stats. Yeah.
And I will be the typical Upset hater because I know that everyone loves to hate on Upset for saying that he's a KDA player. I mean, he was a KDA player.
He was a KDA player,
11-0-5.
Was a very good one this time around.
He was insane. He just jumped in with a champ like Kai'Sa in a comp like MDK's. He found perfect timings to, you know, kind of keep them on the leash where he's just a little bit out of harm's reach and also dishing out as much damage. And for me, he was a superstar this game.
Yeah.
And both things can be true at the same time. You know, you can be really insane in game and also care about your KDA, right, Bert?
It's possible, very possible. Yeah. It's very possible. Now, I'm not the person to know about that. I've never really cared about my KDA. There's maybe a lot of times you can backfire, right? But yeah, you can definitely care about your KDA and play really well.
Okay, I wanted to keep you for the draft, but it's been taken away. I heard you need to work on your casting. It's not true. There has been a miscommunication, and the casters are gonna do the pick and ban, so we'll head over to them.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Yo, don't worry, bring a mic. Yo, Shocks, Perks, Odo, just come into the... We got heaps of room. Yeah. We'll do a 6-man pick and ban. Okay, well, while we wait for them to rush over and maybe sort out some communication, we can welcome you in.
And we need to get more headsets as well.
That's okay. That's all right. If they have standing
We
mic,
can just share, yeah, just one each.
Oh my God, just hold the mic like that. That's fine. We don't need to hear each other. We'll be fine. The big thing is, though, Kai'Sa are on match point. And remember, this is a double elimination bracket. We are in the lower part of the bracket if you are just joining us for the first time. Kai'Sa, of course, performing out of their mind. We said coming into this, it feels like Mad are kind of favorites. But we also have to indicate that, like, Mad also, not with Growing Pains. I think over the year, Growing Pains is a bit a weird thing to say. But Mad, again, falling into the trouble of, like, well, they might find something early, but they kind of throw it away. They're not clean. Even Abai said that, right?
Yeah, I mean, up until that mid-game play, right? I keep going back to that. Mad Lions, they had a decent early game. KC seemed like they were actually struggling down, I think, 2.5 to 3K. But then that mid-game play happens and they overreach into mid-tower. It's just rough.
The thing is, though, lads, like, we said KC have to hit top 3. That was a top 3 team performance.
It was, actually.
How clean that was. Like, if this is Karmine Corp turning over a new leaf, and we finally get to see, after all these iterations, exactly what Karmine Corp is capable of, like, I want to see more of what we just saw. That was an incredible performance. Everyone stepped up. The team fighting looked clean, and that's why we're seeing immediately the Vibe taken off the board, because they're like, no, we want none of this go button for you anymore.
And I wonder if on the side of Karmine Corp we keep seeing the same game plan, because they just run with it where you target away Elyoya. Brand Ban could come out now, or any kind of AP jungler that Elyoya likes to play. Tristana already taken away, which is curious because Fresskowy doesn't scream to me as much of like an insane Tristana player, so still going to take it away because it's super OP. Sejuani still on the table, Rumble still on the table as well.
I mean, again, Rumble's been such a good first pick as well. Can you give that over to Myrwn? Can you really risk that? What's going to be the final ban here for KC?
I mean, it has to be the Brand, right? You do not want to give that across, but actually going to be the Rumble, okay? So I think Brand's first pick seems pretty good here for Elyoya, and then you more than likely going to take the Corki here for Vladi. Excuse me, sorry, and then make sure that you're okay then to have that strong AD mid and kind of take away that option. But actually going to be the Zeri on the opposite side.
Zeri flex, huh?
They're going to lock in Zeri again. It opens up more AP jungle options as well. Closer has the Sejuani open. They could do some kind of Yone Sejuani rotation if they want to, pick Yone a bit later. That was something they like to play versus G2, and they did really well on it. They secured early leads, and they only lost because of a throw in the mid game where we just saw their mid game do extremely well.
We're going to get a
This is a bait for sure. There it is. There's a Sejuani.
I never know because we've gone through the whole split of random Nidalees coming through.
I don't think Closer has played Nidalee once the split.
Has not.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of Yone lock-in at some point in this draft.
We did this again.
Yeah, the preemptive Kai'Sa coming through. I think it still gives you the opportunity, obviously, to flex it in towards Vladi in the mid, but more than likely going to be for upside in that bot side. And you're probably going to see the jungle support locked in here for Mad Lions Koi. So I'm curious to see if KC decide to pick up that early rotation of a mid laner for Vladi, or if they want to try and match the support pick, because we already talked about it, the Brand's definitely going to be the pick here for Elyoya.
Now, do you match AD mid into AD mid. You know you're going to go against Yone. It has to be with Brand, right? I think Corky's up. Ezreal's out of the table as well. You've got Lucian that you could potentially pick up, but these aren't really Fresskowy picks. I think his most AD mid Fresskowy pick is Corky. So it might be a Corky versus Yone handshake.
Yep.
We'll have to see.
See if it gets picked away. Again, we're questioning mid because it
Rell.
seems like the most valuable role. Corky 4 games in the regular season, by the way, just to confirm that as well. Vladi
that's
pulls
new.
out.
Well,
I mean, one of his most played in the regular season
it
as
is,
well.
yeah. So what they like to do is they like to pivot Vladi into Azir sometimes. It's his best champion. In my opinion, Vladi's best champion is Azir. We saw it a bunch at Mere Masters, and he would solo win games alone in side lane. So it's nice to see coming out into potential AD mid, has a decent matchup into these champions as well.
And as you say, you get to ban away those AD champions with the Corky being taken away. Maybe you want to try and go towards something like the Yone into it as Fresskowy, but it's not something that we've seen from him, at least thus far in summer, so it'd be kind of surprised to see it brought out, but at least you're kind of forcing them into, hey, maybe you go back towards a Talia, try and force a mage pick into that mid lane, which just nullifies a lot of the value you would get from the brand, because Merc Threads then become super high value.
Yeah, I'm looking at the AD mids that are left available. It's like Varus, which I think is terrible, and then Lucian, which is probably the best option here, but Fresskowy's never played it. So it could be a mage, like you're saying, but then the Merc Tread value's a bit too high. But they're going to have to find a pick on this 4-5. I think I've listed the best ones in my opinion. Yone, Varus, Lucian.
And you'd never consider an AP mid alongside nothing like a LeBlanc, right? Like,
yeah, the value you get from the magic resist and also just the tenacity that's in Merc Threads is super high, and it's too easy to itemize.
I mean, if you do go AP, it would be something like Talia, then you'd have like a Talia Rell combo at the very least, which is super nice.
Yeah.
They facilitate each other well, but no, I think they understand very well that they need mixed damage here to facilitate Elyoya.
And then I'm curious about what we get Myrwn top right. Renekton's already been banned away. Maybe it's like a Sante angle for this team. Like, do we need more front line? It's for Mad Lions, we're pulling at some interesting new straws.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, because you're looking at a very squishy line for Mad Lions Koi.
Okay.
I do like the Yone, because I was going to say you're playing at a very similar range on Mad Lions Koi between the Zeri, Lucian, and Brand. So I think having something that's a little bit more free to move around the fight is going to be great. And having that backline threat, and
Myrwn side lane again.
Yeah, so going to be heavily reliant again on Alvaro to try and be that mid engage tool. Yes, you've got the eventual rapid fire cannon gold card from Myrwn, but this is kind of where I'm saying, like, I think Rell can be very, very good in engaging when she has her flash up. But I do find that she's very much reliant on having that flash, because your W is relatively short range, and if you can spot her out a marker, say with Sejuani or whatever, it makes it very difficult then to try and play into that. So I'm not the biggest fan of just using Rell as your main engage tool, and that's where I'm a little bit nervous about Mad Lions Koi's setup here for their fights.
Ooh, so much dive, like you're saying. Jack set a ban into a TF blind for Myrwn, immediately answered by the dive of Camille and Sejuani. This is such a volatile top side, and Myrwn on this TF is going to have to play extremely well to avoid the kill threat, especially a 6. But so much dive here, side Mad Lions.
I mean, for Canna as well, just again showing his diversity. If you cast your mind back to the regular season, this top laner played a different champion every single game. 9 games in total played, and Canna decided, hey, I'm just going to flex about. Of course, Camille was one of them. And for a top laner who's really trying to settle into the league and settle into the team, I mean, we're going to have big eyes on how this laning phase goes, how he survives the TF, and how he can scale and be a side lane menace of his own.
Do or die, and it's first Yone game in the LEC for Fresskowy. Love to see how he pilots at AD mid to synergize with the AP champion. Going into this game, we'll see if they can pull it off.
And we questioned Mad a lot in that first game. Getting caught out, Kai'Sa pounced. This dive composition that we saw with the Kai'Sa again. I mean, you got Sejuani again. There's a lot of diving that can continue. There was really good synergy between Closer and Upset. You know, Upset was getting Closer, and it's crazy that Closer wasn't getting upset. I mean, it's just, to me, it just seemed to sync so well. And it's nice, again, that we've got similar values in this game, gents. I think needs to be highlighted. But this time we're Vladi on something consistent as well. Can they get it over the line? Can the run start here for KC when they need top 3 to get into season finals? This is 1 out of 3 best ofs that can make it work. They win here. They go up against SK. If they can do the unthinkable there, they've got 1 more after that. And then top 3 is theirs. It seems impossible, but as Dagda said before, that was a performance of a top 3 team, if I've seen one, and that was clean. And that was KC's cleanest game, I think, of the entire year.
but it was with a very distinct style, which was closer engage, upset follow, set up for team fights with these dives. This comp does have a similar amount of dive, like you do have some setup there, but definitely much more of a, hey, we need Canna to get the ball rolling, try and play around top side, less around upset and getting him fed in that bottom lane. So I'm looking to see if KC can have a similar style with a bit of a different look coming into this.
Definitely is. Usually what we see is play towards mid lane from KC. But with this top side, with this jungle top duo of Sejuani and Camille, you can make so many plays onto the Twisted Fate here, as well as the brand. So what we could see as well is potential invades from Sejuani.
But I do want to quickly highlight again, we're talking about it coming into this game. Upset had a banger. One of his best games as well, I have to say. There was a lot of criticism going around. There's a lot of reality checks, I think, and it was really nice to see Upset step up to the plate and challenge that first game.
I think it's hard to say he's a KDA player after that last game. Like, that was absolutely insane. He played on the edge, like shotgun himself in to try and finish off Myrwn in the fight.
True.
Now shotgunning down Alvaro as he goes to step up, but also like sending himself into the base, trusting the stopwatch timing right as they finish out the game thanks to Upset's play.
Oh yeah.
The man was on a mission in the last game to tear MDK apart, and he succeeded tenfold.
It's nice again. Now we take a quick look at the top lane. I know, Eragon, you're talking a lot about how jungle intervention affects this as well. We know Twisted Fate isolated. Going to play with range nicely, but hang on. A Shattering Strike there. Ignite is going to be cleansed away from. Supa and Alvaro hit level 2. They're over the wall. They're in fast, and they get a summoner advantage.
Immediate trades coming down in bot side, but I think they should be okay. Brand should probably want to full clear here. You could see Yone walking down to bot side to get some vision, to potentially scout out any kind of invade or attack onto mid lane from Sejuani. But those trades ultimately down bot side shouldn't amount to anything because the brand is pathing well. Elyoya going to value his full clear more. My eyes, though, are on top lane. What is the lane state like by the time that Sejuani finishes a full clear? Can this wave be held and eventually cause a gank onto Myrwn? He is very fragile in this lane.
It's going to be difficult. I think the wave will just crash on this, and there's not much you can do. So Myrwn will be able to at least get vision down. Elyoya goes to the invade.
Getting in deep. I mean, he's level 3 here, closer at half HP. Going to try for a smite steal. Camera goes away for the time being. That's because we're getting in engaged. There's a flash remount, not to Upset, who now has to burn his own flash. Another big win. Supa and Alvaro stepping up to the plate. What we knew of them in winter, now becoming a reality in this game too.
It's flash for flash though. Supa end up burning his, doesn't get the kill.
True.
And you also get the flash out of Alvaro. So in the grand scheme of things, you actually end up just evening out what had already been a summoner level trade advantage for MDK.
I definitely do. And this is the thing with drafting Kai'Sa Rakan. It's a very weak duo early on. You have fantastic team fighting, fantastic dive as the game goes on, but this Rell and the Zeri should take over early game. That's exactly what we're seeing. Minor CS lead as the recall comes through for Zeri.
I'm just curious as to what happened, bot. You can see that Kai'Sa Rakan trying to push it out as Fresskowy gets a damage mid.
I think we do have to look at like Elyoya though, because this was our big talking point coming into this series was Elyoya on AP junglers. And immediately we see that difference in Elyoya goes in the invade, Myrwn working to push Closer off to just try and affect what Closer's able to do on the map. And this is where Elyoya's been able to pop the hell off. And with Alvaro now spotting out Closer again, it feels like it's going to be trying to contest as these second rotation of the spawns come through and see if they can steal away more of these camps off of the pressure bot lane has.
I mean, Alvaro's starting to move already. Maybe part of the play from what we saw before that gives him freedom is Targamas doing the same just to match and push him out. Also, Scuttlecrab is there, so movement speed bonus if Targamas decides to chase this, but Upset sitting on a ward for the time being. Alvaro might have to crash down outside the Dragon Pit. Or we're also looking at Fresskowy getting a good trade against Vladi in this matchup that he chose here on the Yone.
A lot of tension down bot side right now with that wave crash that Zeri wants to pull off here. Supa trying to crash the wave. You could see they even called Elyoya to shadow just in case a play happened. Now, they can free hit this tower and get some plates, and that means Sejuani is going to be on the map sooner up top side. Once again, looking at that level 6 timer, 5 minutes 30. That's level 6 in top lane. So if Myrwn can avoid that timer, avoid that gank, he's going to be really unlocked because that's really potent there in terms of setup, especially around that group fight.
That's, I think, where the main focus is going to be for MDK. You can see the reset coming through from Myrwn. Fresskowy should hit 6 and is doing a decent job of keeping Vladi in check. Vladi has just burned through the pot and the biscuit that he was holding in his inventory. So just going to stick for this wave and I imagine reset because he also wants to try and hit that level 6 and get that first nice recall and purchase before these Void Groups fights.
Take a look here. Slow pushing out. So if Myrwn dies here, he has no TP to get back to lane. He does have his ultimate, but this is a window here. Canna has ulti.
Coming closer, drops a ward first, and the Hex Deck ultimatum gets dropped on down. Remember, Myrwn doesn't have it for the chase, so Canna's just on out. The Seer out of connecting here with an Arctic Assault from closer. That's an ulti out from Canna, and Myrwn now has the push.
And nicely done by Elyoya to read it, but now in mid.
Targamas angle, it sets it up. The Fate Sealed not interrupted. Vladi's hit on the way out, but Fresskowy is looking for double Q. A nice roam from Targa there. He gets Fresskowy out with his ulti as well.
Ult trade happens in the mid lane, but this is exactly what we talked about. In the top side, there is a massive window where TF can die in this matchup, and they managed to mitigate it. I love what you said, Dagda, because that excellent read from Elyoya was exactly that. They knew that Camille would get level 6 on that timer, and he made sure to be there on that slow push.
Yeah, and now you don't have that ult available, so Elyoya able to take the Void Grubs on top. Targamas still sticking around mid as Fresskowy should be able to collect his wave with Alvaro being in tow, but again, this is kind of where MDK thrive, is Elyoya, when he's able to get into the head of the enemy jungler, play to mitigate, and then expand leads when they find it. He's in a great spot, and Elyoya, now with 6, there's like he can really start to threaten some of these lanes.
He is an in-your-head kind of jungler, isn't he? That's a nice thing to say, Dag. I feel like Elyoya kind of runs with it and just continues staying in the enemy's head, right? 13 CS lead in the jungle.
Yeah, my read of Elyoya, like you're talking about, is that he's really, really good at covering his lanes. He's fantastic, especially at playing around topside. Whenever I see them draft a kind of duo like TF Talia, for example, or something like this, they always play really well around top, and now this game they've done exactly that with the mitigation as the engage comes through bot.
Targamas tries to stop the back, I think, and at least going in. Supa just pops the ulti. His flash not available, so Targa gets on out. But it was with a hair's breadth. His flash heal. Now also down again.
But now you can see where Brand is on the map. MDK could look for a potential dive if Upset's left alone. So Closer would need to try and cover Kai'Sa in this bottom side, especially with push even for Fresskowy in the mid lane. And even if you don't really go for the dive on bot, you can even look for a dragon off this as well. So 3 grubs and a potential dragon could be on the cards for MDK.
MDK, again, it's the early game that's looking good, right? First 8 minutes, gold lead in every lane. We talked about it last game. They held their aggression, or rather should I say, they held their lane state quite well until there were those mistakes. So again, we're seeing a bit of repetition here. We're seeing the lanes push their advantages here and build a bit of a bridge of gold.
We're about to see Elyoya. Oh, hang on.
Well, Supa takes the ulti onto Supa, rather upset, right on top of this Zeri, but not enough damage yet, and especially with Fresskowy walking down, upset will not overextend.
But look again, it's Elyoya trying to cover for these topside plays right as the cooldown on Canna's ultimate comes up. And Targamas has started to move up to try and set up for that, but Elyoya forgoes like Dragon or trying to play for his own leads off of pushing Targamas out, instead keeping Myrwn in check.
Absolutely. Look at the top side wave state. They're trying to crash a wave in top, and they're having everyone shadow it just in case the gank potential is there. Because if they manage to pull through this early game, even they are ahead because their jungler's farming faster. They've accrued CS leads in every single lane naturally. So it's a genuinely good winning lane state, or game state rather.
And again, we talked about unlocking Myrwn a little bit there as well as the roams come up and MDK is setting up.
Yeah, MDK want to try and go for the dive, but now spot Closer, so decides to try and pull away. So they were, it was going to be a little bit dangerous if they tried to go for it. I would have been happy with just letting that push in, but they were able to try and back away, and now they're all right.
Yeah, I agree. That was a bit spooky versus Camille, or maybe dodging out some spells. But now, going into mid lane, it's just them. Alvaro and Elyoya is at tails all the time. Like, I feel like they do this every single game, run around with a strong duo, facilitating each other, and also facilitating the lanes.
I also love when you do get Elyoya on these AP junglers, because like Alvaro is always going to play some sort of tank engage, right? So it's just that. Yeah, he will. Nice. But it's just that you end up in a position where you've actually got a ton of damage coming from Elyoya. Oftentimes you have extra CC on a lot of these AP junglers like the Talia or the Brand, and then you're able to pair off of Myrwn is generating a carry. Like, you have so much burst potential between Elyoya and Friend alongside Alvaro that it makes it really difficult to try and play into that 3v3, and it's something that we saw missing in the last game, where the Sejuani just wasn't really cutting it when it came to fighting in that 3v3.
As we talked about it, if Elyoya is not in charge in a way of carry potential, right, like on these AP jungles, something feels a little lost, and while there was a good early game, it just wasn't the same thing. It wasn't Elyoya who got to put the big boy pants on in the last game. For MDK now this time around, as Alvaro looks to roam again, still trying to set up for some of these early ganks, but Closer's always there. That's one thing you can say about this jungler, is Elyoya is moving into position and Alvaro is thinking about engage. There's a Shattering Strike, the crash down as well. The Seer locks him down, the Fate Sealed. Will he ever get to move? The answer, no.
Canna was already pathing there through mid as well. He wanted to potentially join the fight, but the engage from MDK is there. They immediately pick off Closer. right before the grub fight, and now you can imagine that's there secured.
And he's got no tier boots as well, whether they're going to be Merc Treads, gents. I mean, this guy went to a supermarket, bought everything cheap on the aisle, now has a convergence as he goes back. So Closer gets shredded, Elyoya starts the grubs.
And now you're going to be able to continue that pressure on the top side as well, because it's difficult for Canna to try and defend, but Targamas and Vladi still here. Fresskowy going to make sure that he starts to lean in towards this river just to bully KC away.
6 grubs.
Yeah, and that's going to be great for Myrwn.
And it feels like a masterclass from Elyoya in terms of the jungle right now. All 6 grubs, no dragons lost, and you've mitigated all the gank windows topside as gank comes up
Damage
closer.
there, Hextech ultimatum, but look at who's here. MDK here to bail him out. Myrwn buys time, flashes down towards his team. Now he's dead, but what can they get in return? Elyoya, the carry, has to flash away, and Canna is sitting on his head. Alvaro, no engage, and MDK are doing it again, getting caught on out as Myrwn drops first. Then it was their jungler, Alvaro next. The kills over to Canna, and KC are being gift-wrapped delights.
And just as I say that MDK are dominating this early game, mitigating all the potential plays, they managed to find the gank. Finally, after trying 3 times, I believe by now, they use the setup onto the TF. You can't get away from this. Tries to flash down, but the flash Q2 comes out from Canna. The stun as well from the Sejuani.
Also, the fact that Closer got stunned, but still managed to hit both aspects of the W on towards Elyoya meant that he got 2 stacks. Then Canna was able to get the 3 and 4. So the flash forward from Closer to get the stun meant they were able to pick up more. So really, like, knife's edge stuff that play worked out so well as it did for KC.
They're overjoyed again with a run on the line. I mean, Closer this series having a really good time as well. If it doesn't work the first time, try again. If it doesn't work the second time, I guess try it third time as well. The triple down and now a 2-kill Camille. Sits up in the top lane. Gold lead, pretty much even between the solo laners, and for a TF, that ain't good due to the fact that his passive is really everything.
Supa taking a little bit of hurt, but KC going to start up Dragon. Or sorry, MDK going to start up Dragon. KC going to try and use that push they have to shove them off, and once more they will be able to. So this is where it kind of gets a little bit difficult for MDK, because one of the big points was, hey, if you're in a lead, it's great because you can try and take fights on your fancy, but when you look at where MDK are at now, it's more difficult when Targamas can engage and the follow-up's there.
And it's here again onto Alvaro, caught on out, his Magnet Storm's in, but Vladi picks up the kill. I mean, after Dragon, it just keeps topping up, and KC are finding more windows into this game again.
It feels eerily reminiscent of last game as well. The mid game coming in again for MDK, getting picked. It looked like last game they had a lead as well. 3k gold lead at this sort of timer, but it's just falling apart. After that Dragon take, Alvaro gets picked again. Topside play as well. It's not looking great.
It's really not. Elyoya going to try and move back up towards the top side. His tail tucked between his legs. Will get spotted on a nice pink ward as he tries to make his way in towards River. So Canna will know that he needs to back away from this one, and will not get caught out by Myrwn.
Yeah, Wave Crash. Wave stays a little bit awkward for Canna. Rift Herald spawning soon, but he can't get the crash down. Myrwn can hold this wave if he wants to. If he wants to try and facilitate a gank, doesn't look like he's going to opt to do that. His thought process is, I'm just going to push and move. I'm going to go for this Rift Herald.
Other thing is Myrwn as well. We haven't seen the ult used yet. I know it's not all of the play. I know it's not the most important, but it is something we've got to keep in the back of our mind.
Yep.
Is how Myrwn moves across the map and helps facilitate some of these picks, because man, right now, again, this Camille is going to start being scary. At least MDK trying to trade off in the mid lane, getting some push down while Elyoya starts Herald.
Yeah, I think right now, in terms of TF versus Camille, you just stay top lane. You don't even need to make an ulti. You've got Kraken Slayer completed, Tabos. You are not killable by this Camille, and you can bully her onto tower. So generate your own lead is the idea here for Myrwn. He's relaxed. He's not going to make a play down to bot side with his ulti and sacrifice his lead.
Good to know. Good to point out. There's a good trade there onto Vladi from Fresskowy in the bottom side, while Alvaro tries to cover the potential dive.
Well, I'm a bit nervous about KC investing this many members on bot, because Rift Herald was just taken, and you could immediately like move Myrwn down off of this push into a potential mid-tower take, or just try and look for a dive on towards Canna as he gets in towards top. But 2 members of MDK here, this is risky.
TP's there. It's going to be a 4 versus 2. The ult locks down Fresskowy. The wall is out again, and Vladi already picks up one. Alvaro can't even move himself. No ulti for him. KC executed clean dive, and Alvaro is getting bullied in this game too.
I'm sorry, KC. I wasn't aware of your game.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that your dive was going to be that clean. They still will lose 2 towers, though. So in the grand scheme of things, I'd say a win for MDK.
Yeah, teleport committed for Canna as well. We saw this last game on the Renekton TPing down bot side, maybe when it wasn't the best idea because of the cross map, but MDK come out on top because of the heads-up play with Myrwn hitting that tower with the 6 scrubs.
So again, as you said, win for MDK. Bag of kills, 2 in fact for KC. Gold still in MDK's favor, but only just. We're going to look at a match of the week replay.
Yeah, and you can see here, the setup from Closer just catches Vladi as he tries to escape away, and then there's the lock-up continual CC makes it possible. Alvaro is just trying to waddle his way away, but in the picture-in-picture, you can see the fight's about to kick off.
Live is the chase down of KC, isn't it? In their own jungle, I mean, they're still looking to press forward. Elyoya sending out the ulti. It's going to bounce a couple of times, but it only sends KC away. Maybe to open up bottom turret, it's a long con.
Yeah, it just forces them away enough. The Myrwn should be able to get that Fresskowy. Just going to continue to push them back. Vladi is pushing on this top side to try and trade, but again, those 6 Void Grubs going to make a massive difference in how quickly MDK can deal with these structures.
Absolutely. The tower damage is going to be there. Azir not going to go for that turret, maybe scared of potential TP from behind or something along these lines with the Twisted Fate, but he sees them, so opting to rather let the tower live and kill the minions.
So it feels like this game, MDK playing the map, you know, a little bit more wisely as well. You know, there's been that dive down bot side, but again, they're like, well, you know, you guys can die. It's not going to be the end of the world. Again, you said MDK were trading up top turret, mid turret. They open up bot turret as well. A wide map for a Twisted Fate top does feel very, very valuable when he does have so many grubs.
I absolutely agree. I mean, it's both teams, actually. Both teams have such huge global map presence. You can play off of the Camille setup in side lane with Kai'Sa ulting in, and that's an avenue of attack for KC. But then you also have potential TF shadowing the Yone, and you can play for side with Fresskowy pushing into tier 2. So both an option for both teams, and I imagine the side lanes are going to be a bit volatile.
Well, it's another good point, which the Mortal Blade actually affects turrets as well, the extra magic damage that comes through. And so Yone makes him another good split pusher as MDK look at enemy jungle. Alvaro flash shattering strikers. I can speak properly if Vladi could move, but once again the CC chains in this game mean that everyone just stands still.
Again, it's the Alvaro Elyoya hype train where they're just working so well together, catching members out, and you just don't have that same link up between Targamas and Closer try and get the vision, and now
Targamas. They catch him.
Oh, the rats. The engage is there. Double engage down. Targa is burning down as well and eventually drops. That was sneaky from MDK. You don't expect the double whammy.
Moving in. Maybe he felt like he had safety because he had the sweeper activated, but heads up. Great play between the towers from MDK, and that's going to convert into another tier 2. I want to look up top side on that tier 2 as well. Are they going to secure that too? Not quite.
It'd be huge. I mean, at least getting damage down as well. Maybe makes it a hair's breadth or at least half a hair's breadth as it'll get down to half HP. Canna there to respond as he backed away from bot. Destiny was used by Myrwn to get bot side as Dragon now spawns.
And the thing is, because KC don't really have a ton of Dragon stacked up, or, you know, you really have to worry about a Baron on the cards or anything, it's very difficult for KC to force MDK into a fight.
Right.
At the moment, MDK can continue to play this style of, hey, we're going to shove a side lane and overload somewhere and make it difficult for KC to play because they don't have to contest this Dragon, right? They can even just go back in towards mid, push that in a little bit, and then immediately capitalize on all the value of vision that they still have in that top side as you see the Yone going to push in that top wave.
Second dragon going to go over to KC. I really need to see them play with Canna in the side lane. You've invested so many resources into getting Canna ahead. Now you really need to flex this ability to find picks in the side lane, convert that into towers, because right now, look at him. He can't even extend on his own lane for fear of being ganked. So I want Closer and Canna to work together as a duo, throw Upset in there as well with that ultimate.
Yeah.
It looks like he's going to have to play mitigation on this tower.
Especially since they have Vladi pushing on the side. It feels like Vladi would be far more vulnerable here.
Well, Canna, good buff with that E against the wall, gets him out, and now he turns with the Hextech ultimatum. The charge on Alvaro's great, the dive in even better. Supa now joins on in as a gold card follows through, but onto the back end, Canna is burning down. He's ticking, but the pot healing him up. Not enough in the end from the Blaze. Teleport also committed there. KC had to respond.
Great pick from KC. Canna getting that damage, but also the Targamas being able to dash through several members, so Canna's just able to escape. Yeah. The push on bot wave, they lost a fairly sizable wave on the bot side as MDK, so KC will hold on for another day.
Yeah, I want to call out Canna's E there. It was a nice cancel onto the Rell leap. Great timing on that stun. Canna trying to find plays, and this is what happens when you play towards the Camille. She's so strong right now, especially once she completes that Hydra, but that potion coming clutch. I think you called it out on the healing. Versus that burner damage over time.
I mean, also, on top of that, let's just add on. You talked about wanting to see Closer play more towards his Camille as well. Another note we didn't mention is Targamas syncing up with that. Remember, Rakan's melee now, right? So, triple melee here on this comp. There's a lot of big potential if they can find their way in, but in that particular play, MDK setting up for that weak tier 2 top. As Baron is spawned now as well. Another top play, another thing that goes well up in this side of the map. Could lead to a Baron that is still, remember, quick with an on-hit TF and a Yone. it's always an opportunity MDK can push towards.
A lot of vision just cleared out by Myrwn on this bottom side. So both Closer and Canna know that TF is on this bottom side. You can see them kind of half syncing up,
good ward.
maybe looking for a pick. So Targamas should be able to just dash away here. But everyone in MDK moving in towards this top side. They want the tier 2 before KC can establish themselves in the map.
Yeah, you can see what Myrwn's plan is there. He's looking for picks. He's playing from bot
TP
into
behind.
mid. Look at the TP.
Okay, this is a breaker in.
Okay,
Upset
see?
finds the pick, and Elyoya is dead. Wow! What setup from KC's to jump down onto Supa's belt, but he can't get out. He tried to heal the wall, but Canna's dead. No! KC again. They're loving the dives this series.
They find the play. It was MDK looking for a play with TF shifting up towards mid, but KC find the initial pick. They turn around. Canna comes TPing in and locks down Zeri, who tries to escape over the wall. And it just isn't enough because he can't get away.
It's the imports this series that are doing work as well. We highlight Upset, but man, Canna and Closer coming up clutch as well. The Baron off the back of it. KC needed a miracle, and they found one.
Beautiful positioning there on the ward and the engage from Closer, picking off Elyoya. And MDK are completely spread out. Fresskowy trying to find, should I go in, should I go out? But the fight is done before he even gets to the side. And even with that, Myrwn had to ult immediately out because he just could not get in anywhere safe.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Myrwn, the way they want to play is off of these gold cards with rapid fire. He was so accelerated. You could see him walking towards topside to potentially find a gold card and chain CC off of that. But the problem is they get engaged on first before Myrwn can find anything. And the end KC now, it's another siege for, with Nash. Can they break this mid tier 1?
And I mean, just as we're talking about Mad, you know, looking for opportunities and finding windows in this game, maybe shoring up some of their mistakes from game 1. Happens again, a great engage from KC, sets up, knocks him down, and once again, Upset. He's strong. Once again, Vladi, also strong. I mean, it's just rinse and repeat, isn't it?
I mean, and Canna is just out of this world, man. The fact that he's already completed second item, once the Hysterics comes through, he's already insanely strong. It just becomes unbeatable. You are so good when you get to those 3 items, and now as KC start to put the pressure down, getting vision on this top side, eyeing up for that bar or the potential take on towards the top tower, and with Dragon in a minute's time, it feels like that's where KC can start to pick up another Mountain Dragon, potential for a Mountain Soul for themselves as well.
Yeah, no TP available for Canna though, so now he makes a decision. Does he stay top and keep pushing, threatening maybe a dive, or does he shift down into mid to potentially contest this Dragon? You can see MDK trying to punish the TP-less Canna by threatening engage with that rapid fire cannon.
But I mean, none's going to come through, and that means Canna, if he stays here comfortably, he's just going to find a tier 2 by himself. Sure, we'll look in a second, but that tier 2 just drops. Wave to push in as well, and KC for now with the Baron, I mean, that's a good gold play.
Yeah, KC playing really well, not getting engaged on whilst their top laner split pushes. Now, MDK do have a bit of control up in this bot side river around this next dragon spawn. It's on KC. Closer needs to face check, and same with Targamas on this Rakan with the Celestial opposition. There he goes. Can he sweep the vision, or is he going to get one shot? Look at this rapid fire.
Straight into the gold card, hits Targamas, but he gets to safety. Again, KC finding another avenue, and while that's going on, they just hit mid down. Upset tanks it up, and 3 turrets from this Baron is big as, wait, for the time being, Canna looks for a flanking angle. He's hit out with the Hextech automated buff, and the Supa gets the ulti. There's the Magnet Storm. Alvaro buys some time, but Supa is in the middle of it all, about to drop the Closer. Easy as that, as Targa and Upset have found Elyoya split up. And that's exactly what it is. As Man find Vladi in the back end of the fight, Closer disengages, Upset, Targamas are out of there. There's the gold card you were waiting for, but Closer has to flash out in the end. Mad will get the Dragon start here. Luckily so, it's a 1-for-1 for them.
Canna gets collapsed on, so he kind of has to blow everything early alongside Closer trying to get in position to save him. So it ends up being Vladi dying for Supa, but MDK come out with the bigger health bar, so they get the Dragon. MDK going to be relatively happy because that could have gone way worse for them with the setup that they had.
Yeah, finding that pick. You can see Canna face checking. They really needed Closer or Targamas to face check here because of how slippery they can be and tanky. But Canna has to use everything defensively. He gets out, almost dying to the burn, but then the fight, it just spreads to the entire quadrant of the bot side. And I don't even know where to look at this point, but Elyoya, I think he falls in the end. And Vladi falls as well.
Yeah, I think Vladi tried to go in to help out Closer, but at that stage, I think it's just wash your hands of it, try and get out, and every man for himself. But now KC trying to take a page out of MDK's book from the last few games and looking for a death brush, but it's going to leave Canna with time to get on towards that top side. Vladi does need to be careful.
Might be in trouble. Vision. They know he's there. Again, Alvaro always fishing for these engages. He's been risky this game, but some of them have really paid off as Vladi just kites it back, and MDK stop their 3 men down the bottom side of the map. Well, it looks like for now, Myrwn is just doing cleanup duty on these sideways.
Yeah, I mean, Myrwn here, he has so much pick potential. The chain CC can come out with the TF into the Rell as well, so you're gonna have to play side lane a little bit scared here if you're Canna. But I really want to see them play the side lane here with the Camille continuously until this next Dragon spawn again, because once again, it is going to be Mounted Soul. And with Nash spawning in 1.5 minutes, I'd rather see Canna down bot side.
And they have a decent amount of vision on that top end to kind of help that push for Canna on top side. But even if Canna can't really threaten on towards like the top side inhibitor turret, you're just getting a ton of gold in towards Vladi, who will then get up towards the third item, will be the Zhonya's Hourglass. So it's kind of just like win-win for KC. Like no matter where you put that pressure, it just ends up being a win for these late game carries on either side.
Red buff gonna be denied. Global red buff absolutely massive in a game with so many marksmen. So nice denial there from MDK. Tier 2 turret is the goal.
And again, MDK back to where they started, aren't they? This tier 2's been the goal for a long time. Myrwn doesn't have that much damage. He gets the extended range, but closer finds him out. The pick off, MDK stepping too far forward, you'd think, but Myrwn gets on out spaces. But in the meantime, Upset loves to fly. This guy has grown some wings in this series, while Fresskowy comes in late, but finds Canna. That's one, but he still dies in the end. Mad, it's over tunneling sometimes. That's really kicking them in the ass.
It's the coordination from KC that is just outperforming MDK. Every time they go for an engage, Closer goes for it. Targamas immediately there, but Targamas needs to get immediately out.
But a blue card, he's fine, absolutely. Presses W. Maybe KC want a bit more of this. Supa's isolated, but getting over a wall seems easy here as MDK are pulling back because, you know, Baron was there. They wanted to make sure they had vision.
They need to try and hold on desperately. The MDK, they will be in season finals, but to try and bow out against KC like this, especially when you look at the legacy between these two teams, they would desperately want to try and get a win over KC, but just the French are just not giving them any way into it.
Destiny going to be used on the back of the pit as Baron's going down fast. Azir damage means a lot as Alvaro wants to get the engage into the pit. Smite is enough. Closer gets it and secures as Vladi flies and glides with his Emperor's Divide. Alvaro is back on the bad line as Myrwn runs to the front, and KC, they are playing their comp well again with a TP to mid to try and break that base.
A series of errors from that top fight into a Baron start, and now a turn coming in from Vladi, the player we have all hyped up recently in recent weeks. He's been playing so damn well, and now I think they can look for the end here. Is that 30 seconds left on Elyoya? I think they have time.
Up in 10 seconds. Dagda, what do you reckon?
Looking like Sidelines Koi are going to be taken to the main stage here. KC, they want to end this here.
Keeping their dreams alive. It's a miracle run needed as Myrwn gets uppercut by Canna, who's had a field day of this game. KC came to play, and when they need top 3 to get into season finals, KC will not take Mad's crap any longer today. The miracle run here in the LEC Summer Playoffs begins now.
And if I'm SK, I am shaky. This was a hard-fought game 2, but a well-orchestrated game 2 from KC. And that game 1 was a complete blowout. This is a different Karmine Corp from what we saw in the regular split. Even
when behind, they look so intimidating. Finding these picks, finding these team fights, the way they execute them, playing off of the Kai'Sa ultimate with the setter from the Camille, super impressive. And the coordination really is there.
Not only innovative comps, but yeah, comps that do need coordination, I think was nice to see today. But of course, you can vote for your Kia player of the game at X. Is it Closer, Upset, or Targamas?
I think it's Closer, the way he facilitated the lanes, especially accelerating the Camille in that game.
And I mean, if we're talking about player of the series to correct as well, like, Closer had a really good series.
Yeah.
Closer had a really, really good series. And of course, for the Mad Lions fans, just a side note, they will still be in season finals. KC, however, disrupt the flow where, because of this win, SK are not locked. Earlier on, as we saw Ginex with a win, they're not locked either. They need KC to fail, and KC said no to failing today.
I mean, they do not look like they're anywhere close to failing. That was an incredible game. I am very excited now to watch this KC because it feels like suddenly we have what I think a lot of people expected Karmine Corp to be when they came into the LEC, which was just this absolute monster of a team that you have to deal with.
They look really good. They look really,
look
really
insane.
good. They can play loads of different styles of compositions. They can play to top, they can play to mid. Difficult champions, easy champions. We've seen their style now, and I look forward to seeing how they play in the future.
I mean, again, if we can see, you know, innovative drafts like this again, I mean, Canna on Flex Champions, like, again, he played so much during the regular season. And I think as well, you know, not only we have Upset playing a lot more aggressively, which was nice, and playing off the back of it, we saw Vladi playing really aggressively, and I guess also off the back of it this entire series, where he's also a really good linchpin for KC.
I think it's just the fact that, like, as Eragon was saying, it feels like anyone can carry. Vladi can look absolutely great.
Yeah.
Upset on the Kai'Sa was stellar in game 1, but more muted because he can let Canna take over in game 2. It feels like there's no one that you can just kind of go, oh yeah, that's the problem. It's everyone in KC is a problem for you.
And I want to highlight a player that maybe got a lot of flack in the past, but played really well recently. I remember loads of engages that split in this series as well. Targamas, I think, has been sleeper. We haven't mentioned him that much on the cast, but I think he's played really well as well.
You're saying that because he's in the Marriott Bomboy post-game check-in with Laure on stage. So Eragon getting brownie points as we say good night and good luck to KC.
Thank you so much, guys. I mean, you're right. Let's ask him, actually. First off, Targamas, congratulations. Thank you for joining me on stage. The guys on the cast were telling that you played really well today. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I played pretty good, right? So I think the whole team, like, we didn't do that many mistakes. Like, I think we gave a lot of space to enemy teams sometimes because we know they like to play really aggressive with their jungle supports, but like, we didn't, like game 1 we didn't die, game 2 there was a little moment where we died a bit, but then we started being like, okay guys, they're actually inting, just kill them, and then everything went well.
Inting.
Yeah.
I mean, these are some strong words because actually coming into this matchup, I didn't think we've seen enough from KC to put you as really, really high favorites. And I feel like when you play against MDK, you never know what kind of champions they're going to throw at you. Maybe a bit unsure about the game plan. What was your approach and understanding of Mad Lions Koi today?
I mean, of course, we respect them. I think they are playing pretty good laning phase, like especially their bots. Like they are not afraid to just press their buttons and try to make things happen, right? But I think the mid game they struggle a lot and they always play the same. Like their jungle support is just going really far while their carries are not with them. So I mean, we watch their games and we know what they're doing, right? Yeah. So in the games, maybe it took us a bit of time to realize because we're like on stage and we are not punishing instantly. But then after they do it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, at some point we just kill them.
Yeah, you get the message. You know what the game is going to be about. But for you guys, honestly, it looks like everything is looking pretty good. The team keeps on improving. All the players keep on improving and the synergy keeps on getting better. What's the state of KC right now? How do you feel with the rest of the team as you're ramping up in playoffs, especially knowing that one mistake, you're out and the year is over, sadly?
I mean, I feel pretty good. Like, I think since the beginning of the split, we've been playing, like, decently on stage, I would say. And, like, in scrims, we've been actually playing good, like, challenging the top teams, right? Like, that's where I would kind of put us. But first round, of course, we play against G2, so it sucks a bit, right? It's hard to win against them. And also, I think they had, like, really nice plan in draft. But I'm pretty confident we can win against everyone else if we just play our game.
And talking a bit more about you, that's a topic we didn't have the opportunity to touch up on last time I interviewed you, but I know that it's been a difficult year for you. I know that you got your share of criticism, and I know that the community had some thoughts, basically, about you in general. I was wondering how much it affected you or actually helped you push further.
I mean, as I said in my last post, like, I don't think it affects me much because I have, like, the team around me, like, supporting me a lot, and, like, everyone is happy with the job I'm doing, so I don't care, like, what people behind their PC at home thinks, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. But obviously, I think, like, the toxicity has been, like, pretty high lately, and it's fair when, especially towards KC, when we've been, like, performing really bad. But I can't wait to shut some mouths, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the point of all this, and the next mouth that you're gonna shut. I love this. The next mouth that you're hopefully gonna shut, and maybe teams that you're gonna eliminate, is gonna be SK. Any words on this upcoming matchup? Niski on the other side of the rift?
I mean, I don't really mind. I think SK, it's like, they had a pretty good, like, regular season, like always. But I'm not really scared against them. Like, I think For me, the way I see it is like when you run in the loser brackets, like the hardest game is often like the first game because you have to like get the momentum. Right now, I think we played pretty good today. Everyone is feeling confident. I feel like in 2 days, we're probably just going to win again.
All right. I hope you can carry this momentum into the next match. We have Vladi and your jungler closer in PGL. Anything you want to tell them, or maybe your take on how they played today? You can look at this camera.
I mean, yeah, I think Vladi, he almost ran it down one time in the game when he gets hot on top when we say everything in comms. But it's fine, you know, like he still needs to learn a bit, so...
All right. It's not about running it down. It's about shutting down the Nexus in the end. Targamas, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for the interview. And that's all for us here on this side of the stage. Shocks, over to you.